What's up, everybody? Hey, good to see you for night two.
Night two
Of the Black Man Made Well. We're talking about the Fatherhood Edition, and I am Martina Sellers, your mental health hygienist, coming to you live and always in living color in Southern California, where the sun is always shining.
Most days. And I would be John Henry Scott, not the first, second, but the third. And I'm simply just fortunate to be his co-host.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. John Henry, we had an amazing time last night.
Without question.
Without question. And if you're just joining us, listen, make sure you go back and check out last night. We did last night opened with the doctors of the show. And we talked about debunking the myths of the negativity and the stereotypes of Black fatherhood.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then tonight, we just go take it up to the next level.
Yes, sir.
Tell the folks what we're talking about tonight, Marty.
Tonight, what we are talking about the mental health and the mental health of Black fathers. There we go. We have an amazing panel coming up to you for you tonight. We have Thomas Davis. We have Pernell Bush. We have Danny Ross, Stevon Lewis, and Alex Dorsey. Listen, you don't want to miss these brothers. These brothers here.
Yeah, it's going to be special, man.
These brothers, I'm trying to grow up and be like them.
It's going to be special. I mean, I'm thinking
Yes,
about
sir.
just the value that we are getting by having this caliber of
That's right.
Black men who happen to be therapists
Yes.
with us today, sharing knowledge and jewels
Yes.
and tools and resources. It's going to be fantastic.
Exactly. And when we look at it, Black male therapists represent traditionally about 1%.
Wow.
It might have gone to 1.5, but we haven't hit the 2%er yet. In that. So we're not just rare, but we are definitely valuable. And I'm so glad to help to definitely to present these brothers on this program. I'm honored that they even accepted the invitation with us. And then tomorrow night,
Tomorrow night's going to be good. You know, I've got this saying that I tell businesses that when the health of the leader is not strong, then the organization is at risk. I like to say the same thing in the family, right? Same thing in the community.
Yes.
When the overall health and wellness of the Black man isn't where it needs to be in a strong manner, it impacts, it is my belief, every segment of our society. So tomorrow we'll be talking about Black fathers and overall health and wellness.
Yes.
We will be back hosting, but our guest panelists will be Dr. Chris Williams. We've got Gage Henderson, who's a fantastic therapist. We've got Stephen Dolphin, who I happen to believe is one of the greatest fathers on the planet right now. And of course, we'll have Dr. Sean Stewart, who needs no introduction or explanation. You'll see when you get here tomorrow. So
we got these brothers coming from Texas. I don't know, these Texas brothers coming in the house.
We got some Texas people tonight, don't we?
We got a Texas person tonight.
Let's
yes.
do it. Let's bring the panel on, and to all of the guests and all of our folks that are actually tuning in.
Stevon, he already got his fan crew coming, about to drop some. That's right, diamonds. Let's do it. This with that. Portia Scott. Hello, darling. How are you?
Hey, baby.
Wait a minute.
I know her.
You know her? Who is that?
You know how? You see how I changed my voice?
Yeah, I saw you change your. He said, "Hello, darling." Anyway, John Henry, let's go ahead and jump in and bring this panel in, these brothers. First, let's go to Florida first. We got none other than our guy. You called him the Pink Panther last time.
Pink Panther.
None other than Pernell Bush.
Man, what's happening? How y'all feeling out there, man?
Listen, we doing all right. How you feeling,
doing, brother?
No, man, doing real good. Happy to be here with y'all this evening and look forward to a very stimulating conversation.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Talk to us what you've been doing here lately, because I know I'm trying to be a hustle man like you, because you out there hustling, doing the thing, rook or crook.
You know, man, actually my hustle came to a screeching halt, man. It's about a month and a half ago. You know, I experienced back-to-back deaths with my family, my grandmother, then my mother.
That's right.
You know, so for me, you know, I had to really take time to gather myself, you know, which is still important for us to talk about. Because a lot of times we as men, we go through things that are tough in our life. We try to not address it by staying busy. So for me, man, I actually was very intentional about sitting still, man, and literally allow myself to feel. And to ensure that I'm not ignoring, you know, what I needed from a social, emotional, and psychological standpoint.
Love that.
So man, that's what I've been up to.
And definitely put out our condolences,
Absolutely.
and just, and thank you for sharing that, because we as men, especially black men, we don't know how to grieve, and that it's okay to say, you know what, I'm going to put everything on pause to take care of me.
But it's hard. It's hard. Sometimes I'm not gonna lie. Hey, because now I'm just getting back into my groove, and you know how you feel like you're just behind, like, oh my goodness.
Yes.
But hey, look, I tell people it was something that was necessary for me.
That's right. That's right. Appreciate it. Definitely. So our next one, let's go on over to, since we're in the South, we're going to stay in the South. Let's go on over to Dallas, Texas, and bring on none other than Danny Ross.
Hello. How y'all doing?
How you doing, Danny?
Ross. I'm doing great. Doing great. How y'all doing?
We making it, man. I'm loving this matching blue and blue tonight. What's going on?
Just trying to hang out with some important guys tonight, so I'm excited.
Yes.
Man, we're grateful that you're here.
Yes, grateful. Yes. I need to come down there and visit again, because I need some good food in my life. Need some good food in my life.
You're gonna get plenty of that here. You're gonna get plenty of that. What's up?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Let's go on up to the capital city itself in D.C. and welcome with us again my road dog. Although he ain't been out here to see us or nothing like that, but we'll give him a pass on that. Not yet. Whatever. Thomas Davis.
What's up? How y'all doing?
Hey, Thomas,
how you doing?
How you doing, man?
I'm great, man. Sir. Good to be here tonight. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes. Is this we're doing the alpha thing tonight with the black and gold? What's up?
Nope. I'm just being myself tonight.
Okay, I'm just checking. Okay, now let's bring it on home for the let's go here. I'm talking about, we're coming to Inglewood. We're going to L.A. None other than the celebrity therapist himself. None other than Steven Lewis.
I sound like I was playing for the Chicago Bulls or something. Like, what is happening, people?
How you feeling, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm out here making stuff happen.
Yes,
behind
you are.
The scenes. Since the last time we chatted, I think my podcast came out, How to Talk to High Achievers About Anything, and working on a journal/workbook that I hope to kind of have released by August. So look for some pre-sale campaign stuff happening in the near future.
Love that, man. See, we all trying to be, grow up and be like y'all. I'm just trying to be like, Danny got books out and all that. I got to catch up. And for the first time on the show, but definitely not going to be his last time. Listen, this young man is doing some great stuff, and we want to welcome him for the first time on here, being with us, none other than Mr. Alex Dorsey.
Good evening, brothers. Thank you for having me. I feel like I made it to the big leagues by being on the screen. So
listen. You see, Alex came in. Hey, good evening, gentlemen. How you doing?
All distinguished.
Yes, distinguished gentlemen and everything,
Hey, for a minute, he reminded me to do that same chocolate rain on them.
All right.
We see what kind of night we're gonna have. Yes. Listen, as therapists and black male therapists, and I know that we've been talking this a lot on this particular one about black fathers, and I think that there's so much that's relative that just goes across the whole spectrum as black men. And I'm going to kind of throw this out there. One of the things we've been talking about last night was debunking a lot of the false narratives that go out. And if I can just look at a couple of my statistics, I'm going to try and read it without my glasses, y'all. But a brother getting old.
I'll catch you. I got you.
You got me? Okay. And it talks about the CDC, as late as 2020, has been reporting that black fathers are just as present and sometimes more present than their white counterparts, especially when it comes to dressing and reading to their children. Black men combing their daughter's hair. Don't judge me, I have a 6-year-old, and she tells me how she wants her hair. She told me she wanted one bun this morning. We weren't doing the two. But even bathing and having fun and getting out there. And then according to the CDC, that 58% of black fathers live with at least one of their children. 58%, so that's more than half. And then they talked about that 73% of Black fathers talk to their children several times, anywhere from 5 to 7 times, for those who live in the home and live out of the home on a weekly basis, making sure that their children are all right. But the narrative never reports what we've just talked about, that CDC. So if we were to talk about that, so we're talking about the mental health of Black fathers.
Yeah.
And we're going to go across the whole, but I'm going to start with Pernell. What are some of the major challenges that Black fathers that we have seen in our practices, what maybe we've experienced even in our own families, that we're seeing experience, and that carry on this negativity that we often fight against?
I mean, well, you just said it just a moment ago, just the untruth that we're not involved, right? And the only way that we are good fathers is by the finances that we provide. But it's much more than that when you're a father and a dad, right? So I know someone I once heard somebody say, any man can be a father, but it definitely takes an active individual to be a dad. So a lot of times when I see individuals walk into my space, a lot of men that I run into are operating on what I call the 3 fragile P's, right? And the 3 fragile P's is if they don't feel like they're providing, protecting, or procreating, they don't feel like they're a man. So if one of those P's are off, I have a lot of men that walk in my space who are going through almost a crisis.
Yes.
Like, well, I'm not doing what I think I should be doing. I'm not doing what that unhelpful thinking pattern, the shoulda, coulda, woulda, or they catastrophize, or they are saying this is what it should be. And I have to help my male clients reframe that and help them look at what you are doing and help them understand who is saying this. Is it you or is it other people saying? A lot of times it just be us.
That's good. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It be us.
In our own community.
Our own internal self-defeating thoughts.
Yes.
Right. So a lot of cognitive behavior therapy and reframing, a lot of empowerment therapy that I do with a lot of my clients, so just really encouraging men to understand that your role is much bigger than what you have in your pocket, man.
That's good. That's good. Danny, talk to me.
Fantastic.
I was thinking about W.E.B. Du Bois, and he talked about how does it feel to be a problem. And I think one of the things that I think of often is what the Black man is told, what the Black father is told, how the Black father sees himself, and how what the Black father believes about himself. Now, sometimes we have to go into conversations deciding that we're going to authenticate some of the conversation, because everything that we put in the conversation is not helpful to where I'm trying to go. And so I have to throw away some of that information that has been told to me by my great United States of America that has seen me a citizen, but you don't treat me as a citizen. So 120 years ago, W.E.B. Du Bois dealt with this as a Black man, and we're still dealing with the duplicity of being a Black father, a Black man, a Black person in our great U.S. of A.
Come on, you put on your preacher voice. You always tune up. Brother Stevon, talk to us about that. Talk to us about, because I saw you the smiling, this nodding, and all that. You was doing the amen corner over there.
Oh,
come on, Deacon.
Are saying no, Deacon here, just no Deacon. But no, I think what happens is that people that show up or the Black fathers that I work with, it's the idea that they are trying really hard. And I think they are putting themselves under a lot of pressure that doesn't really get talked about or spoken about often.
That's good.
And they are really pushing themselves to be all things to all people, right? So it's part of what Pernell was talking about, of that provider, that they have to now make the lives of everyone around them better. But no one's really stepping up or doing that for them. And they also don't feel empowered to be able to ask others to be able to do that they're supposed to kind of weather all the storms and then find some time to attend to their own needs in a way that doesn't take away from everybody else. So it's like trying to, actively balance those two kind of roles of attending to their own needs without looking like they're taking too much and being, dismissive or selfish in their kind of presence. And because of that that narrative about they don't show up, that they aren't there, that they aren't around, the absenteeism. And so it's like, challenging that, and they're contending with that on a daily basis. Oftentimes what I see in my work.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Alex, you're nodding. Talk to us, Alex.
Man, I'm over here taking notes. You brothers are dropping gems already. Hey, I'm using some of this stuff. But
yes, sir.
Just to piggyback on what everyone is saying, again, in my practice, I'm often seeing men that are just tired. Since we come to this country, the concept of a Black man has been one of a workhorse, someone that
That's
often
good.
has to move, right? And so there's never been that space for the Black man to rest. Black men are coming into sessions emotionally gasping for air because they have not taken that space to really just chill, to relax, to decompress from, all the, lack of better words, the BS that's coming their way, in society. So, that's what I'm seeing, just taking that time to chill is what we really need.
I hear you, Alex. I hear. Come on, Thomas, and talk to us in the DMV.
Yes, sir. I just want to say this. There is a famous quote, and you all are going to know who said this quote. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can. That's from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And that quote is very important because men are waking up in the dark. They are walking in the dark. They are working in the dark. They are living in the dark. And they are in the dark because they are not allowed that light, which is which is a second chance. Because sometimes men, we make mistakes, right? But we also have an opportunity to get it together. But many people beat us down so much because we made that one mistake and we stay there. And so a lot of men come into my practice, and I'm honored to say that 94% of my clientele is African American men. They are living in they are in the DMV, and they share this with me. They share how they feel like that they are dark, that they are lonely, that no one cares about them. They even bring up Jim Crows back in the day, how they feel like slavery and all of the things that we as Black men have experienced in the past is now following them in present day. So I just want to say that it is very key and important for us as men to have that chance just to be who we are.
That safe space.
I think that's.
I'm glad Thomas said that because it's the part about perfection can't be the standard.
Right.
So he's talking about the place of where it's not okay to be human, for us to not make mistakes. Right. And I think that if we are approaching this role as being father or Black men or whatever it is that we're held to the standard of perfection, we're going to fail every time.
Right.
Absolutely right. Because we are human, and as humans, we're allowed to make mistakes because that's where we grow. That's where we learn from that. But if we're constantly being thrown in our face, you messed up here, you're no good, you're sorry, you're just like your dad, all that negativity that's constantly now we're playing in our heads. Now the stinking thinking overtakes all of that. So now I'm beat down before I even get the opportunity to prove myself. Robert Brown, Dr. Brown, there he is. Perfection can't be the standard. I love that. Good.
I fully agree. I was sitting thinking and listening to the panel, and it prompted a couple thoughts. The first thought that came in is I started to think about who said that, right? Like, who said that? Who said that was true? Who said that that was the standard? Who said that you have to be this or you have to do this? And I think that there are several different streams and a myriad of approaches or discussions that we can have to attempt to answer that question. But it really comes down to something that the panel kind of alluded to a few minutes ago. It's what I believe to be what's needed is the authentication of information, because when the information is released, regardless of where it comes from, whether it comes from within our community, whether it comes from this passed down paradigm, this belief that we now have is that I got to be Black Panther instead of T'Challa, and I don't know, y'all catch it later. You'll catch it later. There's this conflict between living in the dark, as Thomas said, it's like we have this yearning to not only see But when we see to build, we see to fix, we see to solve, because that's an expectation that exists. Yeah, but not only do we want to see, but we also want to be seen. So there must be this alignment between seeing and being seen if we look through the prism of, having a functional, healthy mental approach. And so, just with that,
but are we even given the permission to heal, or even begin with that process? Yeah, we're go ahead, Pernell. Go ahead.
He say giving permission. A lot of times, we don't even know when it's time for us to heal.
Wow,
Think about it.
That's good.
We haven't ever been able to address that, or been able to articulate when we're hurting, or even to know that this is something that we need to address. How do we know we need to heal? Oftentimes when I work with my men, I have to correlate it to sports, right? So when you play sports and something along those lines, when you twist the ankle, you got to sit down for a minute. You got to ice it, put it and get it a routine and get it back to 100%. But when sometimes our emotions or the way that we may hit things in our psychological or social aspect, we don't know we need it. So that's the first thing I try to teach my clients, is to understand how to triage and how to pull out what needs to be addressed and what needs to be healed. Are you hurt or are you injured? So for me, hurt meaning that you may be going through a distressful moment from a social emotional standpoint, and you're injured. That's when that's when those mental illness onsets are actually coming about.
That's Alex, I'm taking notes now with you. I hear you.
Yeah,
right. Because I'm hearing.
Well, that ties to what Alex was saying earlier, right? This need to really, I call it Sabbath, right? This idea of rest, this concept, this practice of resting.
Yeah. Go ahead, Alex. You were going to say.
Right. I was just going to say, in addition to the previous point is, even if we get that permission or that notice to heal, do we trust it enough to actually let our guard down to do so? Right.
That's good.
How will this glimpse of my weakness be used against me at some point? Do I trust everyone around me to allow this to be a safe space as needed? Right. So, folks can tell us, oh, go heal, go to a therapist, this, that, and other. Now we're thinking about confidentiality. Is my job going to ask about this? Is my wife going to have information? Are they going to try to take away my kids? This, that, and other. All these different thoughts come into our heads, when we're given that notice or that so-called permission.
Alex, if I could jump in real quick, before we get to the therapist piece, men just want to be respected. I think that is the foundational piece. Who I am as a black man, respect that. Don't come in here trying to change and mold me as to what you think this ideal man is. Accept who I am. Accept my imperfections. Accept the fact that I may not be the person that you think I should be, but respect it. I think the main key in men, sometimes we as men are not respected. And because we are not respected, it leads us to use our defense mechanisms, shut down, project, regress, back forward, because we are not heard. And I think the key is that we gotta make sure that our black men are heard. Ladies, men, people, period. Stop downgrading and downsizing what we as black men are doing.
But I think that goes, you're saying, in the respect of what is respect? Respect is being seen and heard. That we matter. Because it still goes back to, we weren't even considered full men. We were 3/5 of a man. And that psyche still carries on. What you smiling at, Pernell? Talk to me.
You know what, man? I think Steve Vaughn might be able to speak on this more, because I know imposter syndrome is his wheelhouse.
Yes.
Think about how many black fathers may have imposter syndrome because they feel as if they're not doing what society has told us to do, right? So what makes me, am I a good father at that, or am I just a dude with kids? So I have seen people that actually come in that don't even feel like, man, I don't know my kids respect, especially when kids get around that the stage development of teen years, right? And that's a whole conversation we get into, but really to think about that, man. And I like to say Steve Vaughn could probably talk on this more about that imposter syndrome that many of us as black men feel. Right, I even have it sometimes with myself. When people see me, they see me as this well-rounded, successful man. But then I'm in my mind like, yo, am I really who I think I am?
Right. I think we all can say that on this panel at times. Stefan, talk to us first. For those who may not know what imposter syndrome is, define it, and then carry on where Purnell left off at, because I think it's a great segue.
For sure. So imposter syndrome is a phenomenon where people who we would look at and say that they're doing amazing things and that, you know, they're kind of killing it in the spaces that they're in, have a really difficult time connecting to that success. So they often feel like a fraud. And so it's hard for them to really tie in or attach to the good parts or the parts of themselves that is responsible for the success that they are obtaining. And so while they're getting results in the real world, on the inside, they feel like they aren't doing enough, that they aren't good enough, and that they don't know what they're doing, and they're going to be found out to not really have the talent and abilities that everybody else seems to believe that they do have.
Yeah, but even talk about that in relationship. I love that with Black fathers, because oftentimes we don't feel like we're doing. I'm going to what Purnell said. We're not doing the 3 Ps. Then we're not doing enough. And what is enough as a Black father?
That's really good.
What is enough? Go ahead.
That's really good. That's good, because it's like what's the narrative, right? Like who's creating? You guys talked about, you know, where did you hear that, or who told you that? Where are we getting the narrative about what's right and what's wrong? And parenting is one of those things where it's. If there were an absolutely correct way to do it that worked with every kid, then that person, you know, we would have written a book on it and we'd all have it figured out. That kids present differently, circumstances, events, life events happen. And so we are kind of doing that on the fly. And it's one of those things, I think, where you don't really get the recognition and reward until way later, after you've been on the job for a while, right? Yes. So there isn't that like mid-year review to tell you where you are along the way. You know, you got to get to like, did they make it to college? Have they stayed out of jail? Like now I get some validation that I did a good job.
Yeah.
So I think when we talk about imposter syndrome, it can be rampant there for sure, because, you know, how do I know if, you know, the model that I had wasn't good enough? If I felt like it could have been better, if you had them, that's another thing, right? Like if I didn't even have a model, then how do I know honestly what I'm doing and if what I'm doing is working well? And again, that stuff doesn't really happen immediately, right? We look at fatherhood as being kind of global, and like, did you do all these things? And so I think like we've got to find benchmarks along the way to say like, hey, I am doing well. Did I do well from 0 to 3 months? You know, did I do a good job? And if not, like, you know, what can I improve upon? And I think as we kind of celebrate ourselves or celebrate those little wins, then we can kind of say, hey, I'm doing a good job. You know, I'm going to try to continue to do that. Do I know when, you know, kid is 32 that I've, you know, been as successful as I could be? I don't know. But today when they're 11, I think I'm on point right now.
Yeah.
I do think one of the things that I notice quite often is men, fathers, dads, not giving themselves permission to enjoy moments that happen in their lives.
Pressure.
You're under pressure. We're
under pressure all the time.
Go
ahead, Dan.
But I do think one of the things that causes problems is not being able to recognize when I need a break, when I need to slow down, when I need certain things from other individuals, because we have received this narrative that we got to always be on. And what I do a lot of times in my sessions, and I feel like I give guys permission to say, I need help. I don't have it all together. And this is where I'm really having some difficulty. But I really think oftentimes we have not been given permission to be vulnerable, to be able to sit in our problems, to sit in our difficulties and try to figure them out, because we're perpetrating. We're selling people something that's not helpful, but we've been taught that's what we do. You fake it till you make it. Well, that's toxic, and it's not helpful to your family. Say that I need help, say that I need support, say that I really don't know how to do this, because I'm oftentimes really flabbergasted in sessions when, you know, sometimes the men say certain things and I'm just like, wow, okay, we'll help you with that. But it wouldn't have ever occurred to me that they were having difficulty in this particular area, because we've been taught how to look apart. And
if I show my vulnerability, it's also seen as weakness. And and black men cannot afford to be seen as weak, because then that goes through a whole nother cycle of toxicity within our culture.
Yeah. But I wonder the value of demonstrating courage of telling the truth. Here's what I mean by that. Culture expects for everyone that if I were to throw out and just say, how you doing? The instinctive response is fine, I'm good. For us to be like, I'm straight, I'm cool. I was sitting in the south of France. I was in Cannes a couple years ago, and I was facilitating a session.
Slice flex. Slice flex. I was in the Hamptons at one time.
Eating a croissant and some coffee.
Man, hey, y'all know it's relative, man. It's relative.
I was working. Okay, I was working with a client, and in working with this client, I was extremely frustrated, and I was facilitating this event, and they stopped and they had a camera in my face, and they said, "John, how are you?" And in that moment, I said, I am not good. I am frustrated. I'm angry. I'm pissed right now. I said, but we go get this done.
Right.
And they were blown away by my honesty.
Right.
And I think the question that we have is, what would happen if incrementally we practice just being honest? Obviously, with the risk ain't go blow nothing up, right? If we can't be honest with our boys, at least with my boy, let me be honest. I'm cool, cuz I'm cool. No, I'm not cool. My daddy just died. I still got to do this. I'm tired. I'm hiding under my work, and I cried in the pantry 3 times today. In a safe place. I wonder what that would do in terms of how we show up for our children, for our community, and things like that. So I guess the question is what does courage look like in telling the truth, and where is it safe for us to do that?
Go ahead, Pernell. I see you chomping. Go ahead, my brother.
You know, man, honestly, to me, it's really going back to the basics. First and foremost, for you be self-aware enough to be able to articulate those emotions. Because a lot of times, many of us don't have that skill set. So it's really helping the men that we work with get to that skill set and knowing how to articulate that. So when somebody does ask you, don't give them just a runnish type of response. Because I know for me, people like, P, how you doing? My automatic response, like, man, you know, I'm alive and kicking out here in these streets. That's my automatic response, right? Right. But if I have to truly stop and really say, hey, man, listen, honestly, right now, I'm not in a good space right now. And I can tell you, I'm really going through some sorrow right now. And I just really have to take some time because I'm tired. I'm in pain.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But a lot of times, once again, it's really going back to the basics and empowering and teaching the men that we work with, you know, providing that psychoeducation for them to be able to articulate that.
This is so important. So can we do an exercise? Can we ask the experts on the panel? Because there are men watching now,
right?
And there will be men who will watch the replay, and this is going to live out in internet world
forever.
What can we say in those moments to help us be honest? What are some practical things that we can do? Because perhaps we don't have the language, right? Or we don't have the emotional intelligence to be able to understand what's going on, or the ability to articulate exactly what we feel with some defaults. So if we got, I'm cool, I'm chilling, I'm straight, I need some space. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm like, what is that?
Go ahead. What are some?
Oh man, y'all sound like a chopped and screw record over there right now, guys.
I think he was asking us, what advice will we give men who come into our office?
I need a toolbox. I need a toolbox.
Something that we can put into our
give me something I can say.
I can carry away from here.
The question is, how you doing? All right, I probably don't have the vocabulary to clearly articulate. Give me some defaults.
Okay. Danny.
I think as men, oftentimes we had playmates, we had people we were on teams with, but I'm noticing now this is just me, this is my practice, but like 30 and up, really having intimate, close, safe relationships. I asked my men specifically, I said, like, so who do you talk about the real stuff? I ain't talking about that surface level stuff that you feel comfortable with, the game, what's going on in my, just surface stuff. Who do you talk about your dirt to? And I often find that the men at certain ages, they don't. they don't have those support systems. So what I want to do is make sure that we create spaces where men feel like they can feel safe, they can feel heard. And one of the things I did, I created the brotherhood because of this issue. This group is for men who are part of my practice, other men in the community who need a safe place to talk, to gather. I tell guys all the time, I think one of the things that we miss as men is being told by another man that you matter and that I care about you. We all want to hear it. We all want to know it, but we don't want to say it, and we don't want to be honest and let someone know that I need you as a man.
Thomas, you're nodding your head. You're going.
I'm in full agreement with Danny. I think the first thing that we got to do is know who is sitting in our office and in our space. That's the first thing, because I have the rough and tough guys, and then I have the guys that just are who they are. And I think the best advice that I would share this evening is to know who is in front of you and validate them, encourage them. You can use the sports metaphors. You can use all of those different other assets that we have in our toolbox. But I think if someone is coming into your office and you know, and you can physically see like something is wrong, just say, yo, what's up, man? Are you good? And there is, and that's something that, fellas, and I know that you all say the same thing. We got to make therapy appropriate for the color and for race. We got to make the atmosphere comfortable for them to be open enough to come to you and tell you, I cheated on my partner, or I did something that I didn't do, without them feeling a sense of shame, a sense of regret, and a sense of doubt. So we have to make those spaces relevant. And you got to just have basic conversation. I love talk therapy. Talk therapy is a basic approach when you're dealing with men, because you are having a conversation back and forth. And you can slide in those interventions and those principles. But the main thing is just ensuring that you allow them to be who they are, and you validate them, and you encourage them to keep doing what they're doing. Because if I'm honest, when I was coming up, I was told, you don't cry, you don't do anything, you sit there and you suck it up. And I had to understand
that I had to break adult men.
The messages that I carry. The thing is, I had to break that down. Now, if I feel a type of way, I'm going to say it. If I don't like something, you're going to know it, because my voice matters too. So we have to make those spaces to where men can be comfortable enough to share what is in their thoughts and in their minds.
I want to go to the question that Portia posed, and Stephen and definitely Alex and Purnell says, this conversation prompts the question of how can we create these safe spaces for the men in our lives. And I love it that your wife is asking that, and I think she's asking on behalf of other wives because that's so important.
I just want to shout out my baby right there.
First he changes.
Show that vulnerability to you.
Turn off the lights.
That the heart of her husband does safely trust in her.
Yeah. Okay. We appreciate it. Listen,
that's my baby.
I mean, I guess to really answer that.
Come
question,
on.
Go ahead.
To really answer that question, those safe spaces can be relative to where that man needs to be. Like for myself, I host a support group called Rally Point, a support group for men on a mission. I'm a United States Marine, so a lot of times I correlate things to being on mission and things of that nature. But we talking about creating safe spaces in your home. Oftentimes, and just because your wife asked that, and just for otherwise anybody, especially women that's in a men's life. Let's think about more intimate relationships. Oftentimes, I teach my couples on how to set aside an amnesty hour, right? So they can have those type of conversations that the man can be vulnerable with their partner, and without us feeling as if there's going to be some type of backlash or some type of subliminal punitive actions because of what I'm telling you, right? So just these type of things that we have to keep in mind and just try to be very strategic and open-minded about how we create these spaces.
Love that. Alex, talk to us.
Right, yeah. And just going along that same line, using some different types of games. to help out with those conversations. So there's a game called We're Not Really Strangers, where
I love that.
As you go through the deck, these questions are progressively more personal, more intimate in nature. And you don't have to play the full deck. You can just answer one question. There are no consequences to how you answer, but allowing yourselves to say, this is a game. This is an attempt for us to engage with each other. There's no issues with it. And we're just going to try it. I had one client who tried to do a whole deck in the night. Oh, that ended terribly, right? He tried to jump in to the deep, but he and his
Alex, there's about 1,000 cards in that mug because I got it. I use it.
You know, this is a man on a mission, so he was trying to get it done. But they went back.
Call Steve on. He need to call Steve on.
Yeah,
right. They just did the one card and it worked, right? And as it became a regular thing in their household, they began to see, you know, progress within their relationship and with him sharing on a regular basis.
Love that. Love it. Steve-On, talk to us again.
So for me, some of the stuff that I found is we talk about like the concept of providing a safe space. And I think we focus on the safe part and miss the space part. So oftentimes, like when we're thinking about men, if part of my identity as a man or as a father is to provide and show up for, then when do I get an opportunity to have time off from that? And so maybe what's needed is not more of, it's less of, right? So some opportunity to not have to do or not have to be. And then the other piece that I was thinking about was about like how, I guess, being it's escaping me now. I lost my other point. Oh man, it was gonna be good too. At least I think good. Safe space. It was the safe part. And then it was something that Alex said. Oh, there it is. It came back to me now. See, there you go. Yeah. I was talking about the language piece and kind of, you know, how we talk about things. And so it's the part of like asking about feelings. And I know that Pernell was talking about like the what's the word he used, the vocabulary or how to articulate that stuff. Sometimes I don't ask like how you feel or kind of what's good. Right. You know, I ask like, what are you thinking about? You know, what's on your mind?
Yes.
Right. And that gives you space to kind of say, hey, because I think most men have like a running list of things they're concerned about. But you know, it's just life, right? We got to deal with it. We have to address it and attend to it. And so I think opposing it in that way of like not talking so much about the feelings piece, because that might not feel safe for a lot of men, but saying like, what are you thinking about? What's on your mind? And then saying, hey, I'm here to listen to some of that stuff. Because, you know, I've got stuff on my mind too, but I definitely want to hear what's going on with you.
That's good. That really is good. Yeah. As we're doing that and creating that atmosphere and that space. You're right, because sometimes I love it because sometimes we need to decompress, and some days I don't want to say anything. I'm not mad. I just need to kind of chill. After we done seen 15 clients in one day, and that super day because everybody got a crisis that day. I don't want to talk. I don't want to do it. I just want, even if I just go in the bathroom and shut the door.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Well, that's the space, right?
Yes.
That's what Steve-On was talking about, was the space.
Yes.
I like, can we spend a minute there?
We can spend a minute there.
Talk about the value of that and the necessity of that, especially when we get to the point where we have adopted this narrative that we've got to go. We're always performing, right? I remember when I first started working with my therapist, he asked me, he said, John, he said, how much do you have left in the tank? And man, that question broke me down. And I was like, 10%. And he said, you're running out of gas. He said, you're running out of gas. You're running out of gas. And I asked myself the question, how did I get here?
Easy.
Right? Yeah. Easy.
I'm sorry.
That's easy answer. I got that one.
You know, but this concept of space, this concept of intentional rest, and it doesn't have to be. I mean, like these big things that, you know, I get my space in, but it's this practice.
We want to talk about where you go for your space.
It's sometimes I
Mexico.
I also go just drop me in the mountains and I go hiking or something. But whatever I go to the throne, you know, that's my space, whatever it takes. And I'd like for the panel to really, what have you seen in your practice and really talking to the audience?
And where do you go?
Yeah. What is
let's personalize it. What does space look like for each and every one of us individually in there when we need to recharge? I'm going to talk to start with Pernell, because I know you talked about earlier how you had to disengage and even how it's uncomfortable at first. The first time you do it, you're like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be doing something.
Yes.
I know how to, because one father told me, says, I know how to provide and I know how to protect. I don't know nothing about these emotions. Mm-hmm. So definitely talk to us, Pernell.
You know,
your
honestly,
space.
Man, you know, space can look different each and every day for me,
it
right?
Can.
And that's one thing. When I go out and I speak on something I personally coined the intersectionalities of healing. And it actually depends on what part of me I need to pay attention to. So that's how my space is created. You know, for me, the intellectual part of me, sometimes I just need to be quiet, right? I have to be quiet, and sometimes I make my old lady like, "You all right? You okay?" And I'm like, "I'm good, babe. I'm just."
You say his old lady.
You know, straight out of Florida, man. That's, you know,
straight out of Florida.
Where my old lady at? I need my old lady to put a comment on the screen.
But but also just literally sometimes sitting in silent allows me to hear the other parts of me and what's I need to be in. Yes. Right. Like I said, just recently I lost my grandmother and I lost my mother back to back to back. And I had to sit back on it, man, and not do. I just had to be and not do. Because oftentimes we as men, we want to do in order for us not to feel. So I say, I just need to be right now.
That's good.
And whatever I need to be in that moment, that's who I'm going to be, and that's what I need. That's what I need to be at. So, so the space can look different from time to time.
Yeah. Man, thank you. Thomas, talk to us.
Pernell just tore up all of my feet over here. He was stepping all on my toes about the doing and the being. But I think that one thing that we got to look at, and this is what I do with my male clients, we look at the whole male. The physical side, the emotional side, the financial side, the social side, the side that we don't like to talk about, the sexual side. And it just depends on what part of the man that needs this rest. And so for me, if I know that I am emotionally drained, my thing is going to amusement parks. If I know that I am physically stressed, I go and I work out and I decompress. If I'm financially overwhelmed, I stop spending money. And so I think that we have to identify and point out exactly what we need rest from, because rest can depend on the particular situation, that particular stimulus, that particular thing that is causing us to become so overwhelmed. We have to target that. We have to say what it is and put an action plan in place.
Excellent. I love it. And where you're talking about definitely is also a maturity level too, that we got to understand what is in, as you say, empty in that. As gas is too high for me to be, too empty in life right now.
Right.
Listen, Steve, I was out in y'all neighborhood and in Beverly, gas was $7 a gallon.
Probably over there. Yeah, I would never venture to the west side if I were you.
Steve, talk to us. What does that place and what do you do when you need to get recharged or that space look like?
For sure. So I'm really big on like framing things for people. So like not allowing others to create their own narrative about what my behavior means. So when we talk about space, and I know that I think it was maybe it was Pernell. He was talking about he wanted to check in. His girl wants to check in on him and say like what's going on? Are you good? I think part of what we can do as men is like if we can frame what that is, right? So that we take away the possibility that me seeking distance or separation is not a bad thing. It's actually something positive. That is going to make me give me opportunity to show up, full and recharged and re-energized to be what you want me to be in your life. So I think if we kind of take away that fear that this disconnect or this drawback is a bad thing and not a good thing, then that allows for us to have more opportunity for it. And the thing that I do is I like to ride my bike. So I have a bicycle that I've paid ungodly amounts of money for, and I'll get out and I'll go ride like 30,
that's when you
40,
got that
50
big check,
miles.
y'all. Wait.
I saved up layaway.
It's relative.
You're right.
It's
How
relative.
many miles? It's relative. Since south of France. But anyway, what you're right. How many miles?
30, 40, 50. What was that? Saturday I did, I think 40, something like that. Yeah, I get out there and I go for hours, and it's fun. It's a way. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not thinking about stuff. I'm enjoying myself, recharging.
Alex, I'm going 4 blocks and I'm done. Talk to us, Alex.
Yeah. So, I mean, unlike Stevan, I haven't got those big checks yet. So my thing is to run. I use my own 2 feet.
I got those free.
Oh, man. But yeah, getting a couple miles in is where my space is. But one thing just to keep in mind is taking rest takes practice.
Thank you. That's good.
We shouldn't be overwhelmed by being a perfectionist in this space.
Yes.
Knowing that we may not have a full hour to rest, right? We may not have that full 10 minutes on the throne, to ourselves. We get interruptions, but the thing is to practice and keep doing it and not to be, dissuaded by whatever happens around us. So many of us want to do very specific things and it just doesn't work out, so we got to be graceful with ourselves as we go through this process.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Absolutely.
Mr. Dr. Danny Ross, talk to us.
Just Danny. Well, I find it interesting. I'm an educator in my former life, and one of the things that I find interesting is how we have lesson plans for each lesson that we're going to present. And I think about how many lesson plans we see in a day, how many lesson plans we see in a week. And sometimes in that week, I somewhat forget who I am because I'm constantly moving for the client that I'm seeing and making sure that I'm attuned to how he best receives information. So I have to switch that off and make sure that I'm tuning into myself. I'm shutting things off. I don't like noise. I don't like television. All those kinds of things, I can turn them off. I don't necessarily have to have those. I like quiet space. I like being by myself. I like nature. I like getting out in the air. One of the things I found that has been really helpful to me is I have to ask myself, how many days have I been inside this room seeing clients? Because it can get away from you, especially with the pandemic. And so I've decided that it is so imperative that I get out of the house and take a walk, get some fresh air, things like that. So I think you have to adjust. We do so much in a week.
Yeah, that's so true.
John Henry, talk to us. What do you?
Well, it's a combination of both, but I've been practicing this for a while. So I do a week-long Sabbath, one in the spring, one in the fall, and then sometime if I get too full, then I'll go away. I'll go to a cabin. I'll jump on a plane and go to Mexico. I'll do something. But that's not the thing to celebrate. The thing to celebrate is that I'll also just go drive to the mountains and just go get lost in the mountains and talk to deer and hike. Or I'll go sit in the backyard and drink coffee for 10 minutes in between calls and just look at the trees. Or I will go downstairs and lay on the sofa and watch First Take and listen to Stephen A. yell and holler. And that, for me, nourishes me. And so it's not a silver bullet. I think it's just prioritizing you. That almost feels crazy saying, but
but we have to be a priority. And that's something that we've always I believe we've given self-care a bad rap in the Black community, especially if you're talking about a man taking self-care. We always think it's being selfish as opposed to being, I like to say, self-full. Because if I don't learn to take care of myself, how in the hell am I going to be able to take care of my children, my wife, my partner, or anyone else, my job, or anything else? And for that regard, we have to learn how to take care of self.
Yeah. And I would imagine the panels in the space like I am in, right? I'm an executive coach. I'm working, and if I'm not careful, everyone else's problems will become my problem. And so it is critical for me to have this rhythm of just decompressing, just if it's sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 5 days, but I have to practice that. Otherwise I'll be a wreck.
Yeah.
I have a question for John is, how do you recognize that? Because you're practicing and you've gotten to a space where you can recognize when you need it.
That's good.
And I'm not sure everybody is that dialed into themselves to know. So how do you kind of recognize when it's time?
Yeah, when I get short and I start snapping at folks right there, that's an indication. I am typically by nature a pretty gracious person, and when I'm easily irritated and I'm ready to get your edges and your jugular, then when I start thinking about that, right, I'm gonna hit the edges and the jugular, then it's time to slow down. But then also, my wife has done a brilliant job at creating safety for me, and sometimes she will just check me in a most loving way, and she's like, "You need to take a break. You are my husband." And then, unfortunately, I've got some health issues as well. So physically, my body will signal to me. And so
I think we have to, especially as black men, and in this, but we realize that, especially high blood pressure, that when we look at that, 80% of strokes are avoidable. And how we have to pay attention. I love what you're saying. Pay attention to our body and what we're doing, so that we're not blowing a gasket, we're not going off, or these other things. Listen, can you believe we are at time, and we're just scratching the surface, man, with this. Listen, I can't thank you guys enough, but before we go, I want to get everyone's handles and how we can get a hold of you, and one final nugget, 1 minute or less, that you want to leave with the audience. I'm gonna go start with Thomas, because Thomas will try and hijack it. We're gonna start with Thomas first.
Come on, fellas. It's great to see y'all fellow therapists here tonight. Thank y'all so much.
I didn't even call you turkey legs tonight.
Martin, I'm not even talking to you, and you're the host. But you can follow me on Limitless Possibilities. My Instagram is Limitless Outcomes. The website is www.limitlesspossibilitiesforyou.com. And my takeaway that I want to share with whoever that's listening, it is okay to just be simply YOU.
Thank you. Brother Alex, talk to us.
Oh, man. So I can be found really anywhere. I made it really simple. So all you need to type in is Alex Dorsey, LPCC. Thank you, Steve-On, for that tip. Makes it really easy when folks try to find you. So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, my personal website, and all of my information is there. Really one of my universal tips that I give folks is to stay curious. When we are curious, we drive connection with ourselves and with other folks. And oftentimes when we try to predict the future, we fail, or we predict a future that never occurs. So I'll leave you with that.
It's wonderful. Mic drop. Danny.
I think I just want to leave everyone with the idea that, healing is not optional. It's just not optional. We have to and we never just truly arrive at healing. It's not optional. And we never truly arrive at a destination of, I am healed. We constantly work towards healing. You can reach me at DLRaw72 on Instagram. And you can reach me at DLR Counseling Group at DLRCounselingGroup.com.
And where am I helping up? Messages.
Oh, yeah. I got this little book called The Messages We Carry, and it's a workbook for Black men. I think I really like the questions that I came up with. It's like my most prominent sessions that I've had with Black male clients, and I kind of put them in the book with questions that I generally ask in our sessions. So it's really a neat little tool.
Hey, Danny, listen, man, you have to give Marty like 1%. That man
been doing it.
Give it your own book, man.
Right, Pardell. Right.
Thank you.
He want his cut.
I have to remember to bring that book up.
Danny has such imposter syndrome about, well, it's just a little book I wrote. Listen. Purnell, talk to us, because, Danny, I'm giving him the boot right now.
Hey, listen, man. Well, I'm just going to tell you guys, it's been an exciting evening with you all. Yes. First, you can find me on Instagram as _therapist. That's _therapist on IG. But on all other platforms, you can find me as Purnell Bush. The one nugget, and it's kind of building off what Danny said. I tell anybody, respect my healing. Your healing, my healing, their healing are all subjective, so they will not look alike. Mm-hmm. So everyone just respect my healing and understand your journey may look different from mine.
That's right.
Another mic drop. And none other than Stevan Lewis himself.
So I'm easy. I did like Alex, or Alex did like me, depending on who you ask, or which order we're introduced. If you Google Stevan Lewis, all my stuff comes up. I'm on Instagram the most, at Stevan Lewis MFT. Website has everything. It's stevanlewis.com. My podcast is How to Talk to High Achievers About Anything.
Love that.
And my one nugget is, and this is inspired by my good brother Danny, be mindful of your language and how you talk about yourself and how you talk about the things you do.
Love that. Really good. John Henry.
Yeah, John Henry Scott, not the first, second, but the third. And you can reach me at Chart to Heart, heart.com. That's my company website. If you're running a business, if you're thinking about starting a business, if you're doing anything in business, you feel stuck, you're experiencing rapid growth, you're not growing, or if you're in any type of trouble, then you reach out to us, and we are here to serve and partner with you. My nugget is ask if it's true.
Ask if it's true.
Ask if it's true.
Love that. Love that. Versi, thank you for joining us. Yes. Thank you. And of course, Martina Sellers for Marcel Consulting. I don't even know my own company. Ain't that a shame? Consulting and mental health services. And of course, mentalhealthmarty.com. We are so glad. Listen, these brothers, you got over $5,000 worth of nuggets here that these brothers need to be paid in that type of money, y'all, and you got it here, because I love these brothers because they care about our community and making sure that we are healing. What I love to say, we have to stop suffering in silence in the shadow of shame. But as I say, definitely, y'all, speak up, speak out, and live. And we're definitely going to be. Join us tomorrow night again as we just do one more claimer on this. Tomorrow night, we're talking about health and wellness of the Black fathers and what we're doing. Again, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here tonight. We could not have done this. This was absolutely amazing. And we appreciate you. Love to you all. And we'll definitely see you all tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, same time, same Bat channel, because Batman is the best superhero there is. He didn't need superpower because he had money. See y'all tomorrow night.
He's not wrong.